Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Today I'm going to be showing you all how to forge a square drift. Now, you may think, okay, forging a square drift, that should be easy. I just need it to be the size of the material that I'm working with, or the size that I want my pass-through to be, and that's it, right? Well, it's a little more complex than that. And you have to do a little bit of figuring and pre-testing first. Before you go, unless you know that you know what you need for this material, you want to make sure that you use mild steel first. So you can accurately tell how much material you're going to need for the drift, and you know that the shape of the drift is correct that you're wanting. You put a little effort into the mild steel, and then you can always make your drifts out of H13 or something else at a harder, high carbon tool steel at a later date, which will make a great thing for you. Okay? So, there's the key. We've got to make sure that we have the right shape. Now, in order for a drift to be effective, it has got to be tapered on the bottom, and then it has to be tapered at the top. And I'll show you what that looks like here in a moment. And depending on what you're drifting out, that shape at the end of that taper might be slightly different than you might imagine. So I'm going to get this hot, and we'll be over at the anvil, and we're going to draw this thing out. Okie dokie. Got this good and hot. Get out of the fire here. It's quite hot. Let my attention get away from me a little bit. So it got just a little bit on the burnt side, but that's okay, we'll survive it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to forge out just your standard taper, right? It's pretty hot. Just trying to forge out this initial taper down to an approximate size that I think I might need this to be. Now, I'm not giving any measurements on this because it's more of the purpose of the actual forging than it is, to be worrying about the measurements here. This isn't critical. You have to fit the measurements to your job or to your work. Okay? So there. So now we've got our basic tapered in, and you would say, okay, well that's good for a square taper. But I'd like to argue not. The reason why is if you think about it, most holes that you start with are not square to begin with. They're round, right? So what that means we need to do is that means we need to come here on this first portion and slowly transition from a nice smooth round up into our square, right? And what this is going to allow us to do is, since it's right round at the front end, this is going to allow us to ease the metal into shape. And that's what we're wanting. We're wanting the metal to ease into shape. Now there's all sorts of types of drifts out there, shaped all sorts of different ways. Go take your pick of the litter. Everyone will have a little different way that they like to do their drifts. I'm just showing you one possible way of doing it. So as you can see, I made it nice and round at the tip. And then it tapers, the squareness off the corners have been tapered into that round at the bottom. And this is going to allow it to slowly move up and progress to sharper corners. But we're not done yet, because the front of this is where it needs to be. Now we need to make the rear of this where it needs to be. Because otherwise, all we're going to do is we're going to get into the hole, and we may mushroom this out and it end up sticking. So now I'll go heat this up again, and we'll put the back taper on it. Alright, now we're going to put a little bit of the back taper on this. Doesn't have to be really well thought out here. It just needs to be smaller dimensions than what the finished drifted hole is going to be. Now, I don't suggest making this too small back here. You want it to have a enough robustness to be hammered upon, but you want it to essentially center up into your drift. So there. So now we've got a drift. This is a properly formed drift. Now if you need it to be super accurate, you can go through the trouble of grinding and shaping all this to shape, make it perfect. You know, sand it up to shape, or whatever tickles your fancy on that. I don't need this to be super perfect. The smoother the drift, the easier it will glide through the drifting process, so just keep that in mind, okay? But it doesn't have to be super smooth. Once again, you're working with hot material. So there you have it. There's the drift in a nutshell. I'm going to zoom you guys up on it a little closer so you guys can see what I've got there. So as you can see, there's the drift. Nice and smooth, pretty clean forging right at the anvil. Now I can take and put a little grind on that to round it up a little better, but I'm not going to worry about it for this demonstration purpose. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch a hole into a piece of bar stock, and I'm going to use this drift. So I'll go ahead and get that hole punched, and the punched hole is going to be just a little larger than what the starting stage of the point of this drift is. And then, so I'm going to let this cool, and I'll probably just cool it off in some water here real quick. And then I'm going to show you how this actually works and how it progresses in stages. Okie doke, ladies and gents. Here we got it. We're going to go ahead and insert it in the punched hole. Since I don't have the proper bolster block, I'm just going to make sure I take my time. Now, if you can see how that's already started to drift it. Hopefully you guys can see that very well. So you can see on the back side it's round, and on the front side it's starting to drift it out into them square corner type things. So this is from going from a round to a square. Now once again, I'm not fully there, I'm only just part of the way up. Now I'm going to have to come back through here and chase it back down through with the drift, just to make sure I don't get too much sucked down. Okay? I'm going to drop it off there, and it's slowly but surely going to get more and more square-like. And that's what we're wanting. So I'll take another heat on this, and I'll bring it back out. Dope. Got it good and hot again. I'm going to put it up through here. Locate our drift, and just continue to work our drift right on down through the material. Okay? Keep this straightened out. You can hit right next side of the drift. It's sometimes a great way of releasing it. Sometimes you have to hit it right on the piece itself. But you can see how that now took a 1/4-inch hole and drifting it out to approximately 5/8 inch square. Go ahead and knock out the little suck down part here. And I want to go back through it again. Yet with another drifting operation. But we'll go ahead and do that now. So now we're going to remember which side that it was that we flattened it from, the drifted portion. And we're going to insert the drift through that side, or whatever was the last bottom size we used. And we're going to finish off the drifted hole. Just like so. Straighten it out. And then you may want to run that through one more time. Now be careful, these drifts will get hot. And so that's worth notating. There we go. Straighten it out. And the last time through, because it's probably all we're going to have time for, where it's completely cold. And there you have it. So there we took what was a 1/4 inch round hole, or just a hair above 1/4 inch, or 6 mil round hole, and we drifted it out to 5/8 inch square, and or, oh, I forget what that is. I believe that's 16 mil square. So that's the benefits of having a properly shaped and designed drift. So give it a little forethought, what it is that you're wanting the hole to look like after it's drifted, what the starting part that you're going to run it through the hole is going to start out as. Is it going to be round when it starts? Is it going to be a square punched hole when it starts? Is it going to be a slot punched hole when it starts? And shape the starting end accordingly, and then slowly work it into the shape and size that you want. Not only will this produce a lot less stressed out piece in order to produce the same hole, okay, but it will also save the corners from wearing down prematurely on your drifts. And you can see this is a mild steel drift. I can use this for probably another 100 holes or so before it'd be wore out and I have to go, you know, make another one real quick, or essentially just re-taper it and reshape it a little bit. But this center section here will probably be good for another 100 or better holes to take and actually be drifted. So I hope that helped y'all. If you found this video informative, give it a big thumbs up. And like I always say, God bless you, and we will catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.